Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're having a fabulous week. Welcome to the Impact Tribe podcast, where we meet exceptional people who create a positive impact in the world. I'm your host, Ashley Bright. We are streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you are watching this through LinkedIn, I encourage you, please go follow our page. I'm trying to build up followers there because when I hit 150, I am able to start streaming to that page, which is my goal. So if you're on LinkedIn, please go follow us. I would appreciate that so much. If you're on YouTube, please give us a subscribe, leave us a comment. I love that. And I'm very excited because just a few weeks ago, I've been able to get us up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as an audio only. And so that is a whole new frontier, and I'm very excited about that. Big shout out to our new sponsor, StreamYard. If you're not familiar with StreamYard, StreamYard makes it easy to host and broadcast live shows, webinars, and interviews across all your favorite platforms. No technical know-how required. I'm an example of that. Not super technical, but here we are. If you're hearing and seeing me, then it works. So if you're interested in getting a $10 off on your subscription, please grab that link below and check out StreamYard. They are fabulous. All right. With all of that out of the way, I am excited to get to my guest. You are all in for a big treat today. I am very excited to be able to bring this individual to you. He is a public health strategist, an AI translator on a mission to humanize healthcare. He is the customer success manager at MyndYou, where he's helping improve outcomes for over 30,000 patients using smart tech to solve some of the industry's toughest challenges. And we know healthcare is a challenge, but we will dig into specifically what those are. And so without any further ado, I want to welcome my guest to the stage. Please welcome and put your hands together for Tyler Jackson. Boom! There he is. So good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to share this experience with you. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we've known each other for, I want to say, close to a year now, maybe more, but we had one connection call probably 6-8 plus months ago.
Yes.
And it just sat with me, and you have such a beautiful way of just seeing through. You have this intuition, and you just have these insights that every time I speak to you, it blows my mind. And so I'm so excited to be able to bring you up and have other people meet you and learn more about you. And so with that, tell me a little bit about Tyler Jackson. Like, what are you up to now? And kind of what was the road that led you to where you are now?
Oh, first of all, thank you for such kind words. And Ashley, you've been serving as a light for me to refine my own messaging and what that looks like for me in my life. So thank you for that. And as I talk about what I've been up to, I like to start with where I departed from. And I like to say there were two promises that I was born with. One, that I'll always be one half of a twin brother relationship, which is quite special to me. And two, that hard things will always be hard, but don't forget the moments of possibility. And so part of how those two is connected is my brother was born with cerebral palsy. So I didn't choose healthcare. Healthcare chose me. So growing up, being able to see a team of clinicians, just really a team of different specialists that were connected to the care of my brother, kind of got my wheels spinning around. Well, what about this process can I be a part of? There's a combination of empathy. There's a combination of scientific experimentation around finding what works for masses of people. And then there's the element of technology as well, right? To be able to care for the most people. So, really after I started traveling a bit, I went to both Spain and Africa and got to experience quite a few diverse populations and what healthcare looks like there, and then looked at healthcare here in the United States. And when I was part of Adventure Accelerator in my Master's of Public Health program at Tulane, I really started to say, okay, there's something changing here. We're moving from a world of industrialization where the focus is on productivity, and we're moving towards a world of personalization.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly where healthcare is doing. So today, what I do is we use at MyndYou a voice chatbot that speaks to patients on behalf of health systems and health plans, so that clinicians can spend their time taking care of patients, practicing at the top of their license, while
Mm-hmm.
our chatbot does all the extra outreach until a patient says, "Hey, I need some help. I need to speak to someone." So we elevate that care to the clinical teams. And part of that is where I step in, is designing that program, helping them understand what are the organizational goals at large, and then let's learn as much as we can about the population. And as we take those learnings, turn them into insights that make sure that every patient gets the care they need when they need.
Wow, powerful. So it's very, I mean, like using technology to create more of a human connection between the patient and the caregiver, rather than, I mean, I think we've all probably in some regard experienced this in healthcare, that it tends to be a very administrative driven kind
Mhm.
of check the boxes, read the forms, and it's very impersonal, which, if you think about it, seems incredibly ironic and unfortunate, since healthcare and that relationship with someone that is providing it should be about as personal as it gets.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, has this, I mean, obviously AI, you're right at this critical moment with AI kind of doing its thing. Did you, I'm curious, did you see this coming? Like, how did you, where am I going with this? Like, did you ever consider pursuing becoming a physician, becoming more on that side of things, or had you always had a desire for technology and an interest in that?
You know what? It's been a mix of both. And I will say failure has been one of the greatest teachers for me. So all along, seeing how doctors took care of my brother, and seeing the different healthcare struggles that my family has also overcame in a process, I said, well, the pathway to make sure that no one else goes through these struggles is to be a physician myself.
Hmm.
And so I did that. I was going down the pathway, and then I got to physics class and realized, like, man, it's a lot harder than I thought. And for a long time there was this battle between, okay, I'm not meeting the requirements it takes to get to medical school, and I also have these other things that spark my curiosity, that
Hmm.
sparked my my willingness to make a transformation in healthcare. And so I just took that time really during my public health program to say, okay, how do I blend healthcare, technology, and as well as just the science of behavior together? And that led me to MyndYou. And part of it was during 2020, just being a technology nerd, even outside of healthcare, I started seeing that everything that we do is just about consumer driven. Like, we're moving towards a world where people will want healthcare the same way they get their Starbucks or your Uber Eats or your DoorDash.
Hmm.
And because we went through a period during COVID where things were shut down and there was a less of a focus on brick and mortar, and we moved to online space, home health at home started becoming much more popular. And ideally, the policy incentives will align with that, payment structures will align with that, with the healthcare system. But healthcare has no choice but to shift to where the world is going, which is how do we provide services and help to people at home, at
Hmm.
scale, and distribute that care, beyond just four walls of a hospital. So as I started seeing some of those threads, I said, AI, because it's impacting so many other areas, there's no way that healthcare won't do it. We may be the last industry to do it, but
Hmm.
it's for sure coming.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. You said transformation there, and before we got on the live here, we were talking about that, the power of that transformative moment when you see that thread
Mhm.
that kind of holistically brings all those things together. And I love that you had that realization early on, to kind of see what's the thread between kind of healthcare, whether I'm a physician, my love of technology, my desire to serve. And, we talk about this on the Iron Tribe all the time. Like, you're
Mhm.
young and you started to really figure these things out young. And the rest of us are like twice as old and we're still, I told you about this. This has been happening for me in the last like 6 months, but better late than never, as they say.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's beautiful because I would love to see more people focus on loops rather than ladders. And I say that
Mm,
because ladders means you always know where that next step is. You can reach out and grab it, it could break, but then what do you do? But when you have
mhm,
these loops, you consistently have the chance to be curious, to observe. And then that last piece, which is so important, is to reflect, is to understand
mm.
what are the lessons I'm taking from this. And so I won't sit here and say that was easy making a decision to say, like, med school is no longer that pursuit of mine. But, there was a lot that I learned along the way. There was a lot of people that I met. And now I'm translating all that time I spent with physicians in my conversations with clients. So I'm able to speak their language. So, not rarely is anything that we do ever lost. We can
Mhm.
it's just about how we frame it and turn it into a loop that leads to the things that we want out of life.
I love the loop. That's wonderful because the whole ladder analogy of like, what the next step is. And I think unfortunately for a lot of people these days, they got to what they thought was the top of that ladder. And then they, not to be too dramatic, there was nothing there, or they got the ladder got pulled out from under them.
Mhm.
And so I love this idea of loops. I think it's so great for where we are today. I think there's so much changing all the time, and there's
Mhm.
so much evolution, and we're changing and growing personally that I think it's a much healthier way to think about your perspective on the world. That it's these loops, it's these relationships, these collaborations. People are gonna come in and out, and it's not this linear path.
Mhm. I mean,
Wonderful.
you're spot on. I mean, you're doing it every day. I see you do it every day, and I'm learning from how you do it. So thank you for serving as a model for how to do that the appropriate way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm still figuring it out. It's this the loops are always evolving, but together, and that's what it is. I think it's really about that community. It's about those relationships. And speaking of community and relationships, I want to welcome some people that are commenting here. Eric Hansen, thank you for joining us. Doris is joining us from Nigeria. And unfortunately, there's another user here that I can't quite see their name. It just says LinkedIn user. I think it's because I'm not connected to them. But thank you so much. I see you. Thank you for being here and joining us and learning learning about my friend Tyler and loops. Talk about loops. So I'm curious. You talked about being in other countries, learning about healthcare. And I've been fascinated by this as well. Healthcare is a big one, but also just this culture and the way things work in general. What were some of the things that stood out to you in some of the places you traveled, specifically as it related to healthcare and some of the differences, or maybe some of the things you've brought into the work you're doing?
Mhm. It's a beautiful question. I'd say the first thing I learned is how you can give care with next to no with next to nothing. Like visiting Spain and Kenya, both it showed me how much personalization matters. Now, over there, rarely do you see lifestyle diseases. You see things more related to the environment, things like that, compared to
Mm-hmm.
here in the United States, where a lot of disease is lifestyle based and we have a sick care system.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
being able to experience what a public health system truly looks like, where healthcare is free in other countries, started to spin my wheels around. Sometimes it's beyond just technology, it's beyond just the fancy equipment, the fancy terms. At the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, are we helping people get better? And I think that's where technology is most useful, because
Mm-hmm.
with technology, again, you have loops of understanding. You have where a person started and you get to follow their journey all the way through. So as people change, technology has the ability to help us point out where a person needs help.
Mm-hmm.
So as I started to see that, you can do that with voice. You can do that through conversation, like we're doing right now. We're understanding each other. That's what we need in healthcare. We can't allow people to go to the hospital and then forget about them once they leave. So that's where our technology steps in and says, we know that there is a labor issue in healthcare. It's expensive to study this space. So you need technology to come in and sort of circumvent that and augment the human intelligence that's there. So the technology comes in, it says, hey, how have you been feeling after the hospital? And then if there's a clinical or even a social need, which is a whole nother breadth of area that's untapped that we need to solve for others, and say, we're going to get you the help you need, and we're going to connect you to the right person.
Yeah, I love that. You said augment human intelligence. And I think that's a wonderful way to think about the potential and what's really happening with AI. I think there is with any new technology, and I agree that today AI it's a pretty transformative. It's unlike anything we've seen before, and so I understand that there is a lot of fear and uncertainty, and rightly so.
Absolutely.
But I love the idea of it creating this amplification, if you will, of the human intelligence that's involved, and as you said, allowing for that more personalized care and attention and follow up. And I think that many healthcare providers are trying and they want to, but it comes across oftentimes as very administrative. It's a lot of forms and a lot of back. It's just not. There's no human there. And so I think this is a wonderful way where, ironically, technology can humanize this experience.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's certainly no shortage of fear and hesitation, and rightfully so. But it's up to us to translate that fear and hesitation into what the opportunity is. And it doesn't mean things will be perfect.
Yep.
Systems are inherently imperfect, right? But the more we can understand people and say that here is technology's job. It's not a tool to replace. It's a tool of augmentation. We want humans to do what we do best, which is make decisions, think critically, work within teams. And technology is there to unburden us for the administrative things that we cannot do at scale, right? Like, there's no way I would go and ask a physician, a nurse, or any other person that has spent 12, 15 years in school to say, I need you to call 1,000 people. Let technology do that. And then let technology surface, hey, this person has been having some chest pain. They just got out of the hospital. So can you provide them with the clinical assistance you need? So again, it's one of those things where we need more people speaking about augmentation rather than the fear-based messaging, which is around technology is going to replace humans. That will never happen. You look at the agricultural revolution, industrial revolution. Now we're in the AI revolution. Humans have never been replaced in any of those revolutions. So it's by no means is that going to come anytime soon. So we just need more people talking about that rather than a fear-based messaging approach.
Absolutely. And you touched on this right in your opening, that it's about finding those, I always refer to them as bright spots, but it's like, what are those opportunities? What are the positives that we can gain? And I remember even a year or 2 years ago, the discussion of AI in the medical field, and they were talking about the ability for AI to find patterns that human beings don't see, or to be able to scan results and x-rays in a way that humans can't, and detect things that the human eye would miss, or they wouldn't see those patterns. And that, I think, is a great example of that augmentation.
Yes.
It's not replacing, it's expediting, it's being more specific and focused. And I love the idea of it's allowing physicians to really be present and be there for those important conversations with the right information to truly be helpful to the patient they're serving.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. Everyone that gets into the field of healthcare is here to serve. And so the question is, how, to your point, like you said earlier, around amplification, how do we amplify the ability for others to serve in the way that is most meaningful to them? Because at the end of the day, the the one common thread between all of us as humans is we will all one day be patients. So why not
Mm.
build a system that we would want, that we would be proud as in the healthcare industry, that we would be proud to be a part of. So I think about that every day because it's a challenge. It's going to take time. Things may not transform while during my short time here on earth, but I can do my part. And I live with that mindset every single day.
That statement you just made is incredibly powerful. We will all be patients one day, sooner or later. And that really kind of hits home that, whether you care about it now, you will care about it at some point. And so
Mhm.
that's why we need individuals like you out there sort of helping put these things in place, helping address these issues for everyone so that when we need it, we're there and we could go, thank you, Tyler, and the thousands and millions of others that are doing their work.
Absolutely.
I'm curious. So, I mentioned this briefly that, we've been part of Iron Tribe for a while, and I don't think I would be speaking out of turn by saying that you definitely have these mic drops and insights and this perspective that kind of blows us older generation away, just with the insight and the wisdom. And so I'm curious how you. I'm trying to figure out how to frame this question, but it's like, are there things that have inspired you? Are there things you're reading or people that have been part of your life that have helped kind of keep you grounded and give you that awareness and that perspective that you have?
Yeah, you know what? It's beautiful because one of my favorite quotes is, I'm not sure where this came from, but wisdom is the echo of experience.
Mm,
And I like to say that because of Iron Tribe, because of individuals like yourself and others that I've met along the way, you sharing your experience, sharing your stories has allowed me to see more of myself and bring that to the world. So that's really what in my mind what permissionless purpose is. And
mm,
so that concept of permissionless purpose is, what would I be willing to wake up and struggle for? Because all of life is inherently struggle. Things are good, like
mhm,
I said in the beginning, things are going to be hard, but I'd rather wake up happy, struggling for something that I know is meaningful to me. And I believe that everyone deserves that. So I met individuals like you. One of my favorite books speaks about this concept more from a values-driven perspective. It's called Anti-Fragility by
mhm.
Nassim Taleb. It's quite a dense book. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a long one. It gets really in depth, but at the same time, it's helped ground me in my thinking and understanding that we always go through this cycle of order, disorder, reorder. So it's not about
Mm,
trying to change and return to a new normal. It's about how do we create the new normal that we desire as a community, as a population, as a world. And the
mhm,
more we can do that together, and the more we can have people approaching what I like to call the edge, that messy edge where it gets a little bit hard and you break through, which I see that you're doing as well, the better off we are. So it's just a combination of the different people and conversations like this that I'm blessed to have, and that I hope that at the end of the day, I could always inspire someone to go and have that conversation with someone else and carry that on.
absolutely. I mean, I the conversation and those relationships are so critical, and it's interesting because I talk about storytelling quite a bit in the work I do, and any great story is about that transformation that happens along the journey. And as you said, that new normal. We're never, throughout our lives, we're never returning to that same place. There's always something we've learned, something we've struggled with. It could be small or big, but we've come out the other side transformed with new perspective and insight. And I think it's such a beautiful way to think about life, because it gets you out of that idea that, like, well, things should just be, and
Mhm.
it should just be this even keel. And of course we don't want chaos and we want a level of stability, but there is something wonderful in that idea of, like, we're always growing, always transforming. There's always something to learn. There's always a bit of a struggle, sometimes a big struggle, small struggle,
Yes.
and how you look at it. I've always liked this line that it's, you can't control sort of what's coming at you. What you can control is how you respond to it.
Yes. That is, I mean, that is the essence of life, right? There's a level of this. There's the illusion of certainty that we our brains crave safety and predictability, and at the same time, we can rewire our brains to say, I will face so many different challenges, and I have a evidence. I like to call it a library of evidence that I can do hard things and I've overcome hard things. And
Hmm.
it comes back to that fundamental question of, when was the last time you didn't overcome that hard thing? No one really has an answer for that. So
Yeah.
it just reminds me that possibility exists, and even if you respond inappropriately at one time, you can learn from that and do better next time. And it's a constant evolution, like you said.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Our culture tends to sort of just shine a light on success and reward all these accomplishments and you've said it, and I've heard many people talk about this, that failure is where the real learning happens.
Mhm.
And, success is one thing, but it's only going to come from those failures and that learning and that growth.
Exactly. And both what's funny is both success and failure are outcomes, and you can't get to the outcome unless you try. And so,
Yes, I love it.
the true failure is when you say you desire something and you don't do anything about that. That is what failure is. Failure is not,
Mm,
hey, I kicked the soccer ball for the first time today. I didn't get it into the net. You got a little bit closer to
yep.
learning what it takes to get into the net consistently. That's not failure. That's an experiment. And that's what we need more of. We need more people experimenting with possibility and purpose. And there's no one true defined purpose. There's so many things that brings us purpose. And it's up to us to give each other permission to continue to explore that, especially in healthcare.
Absolutely. I love it. I don't know if it was Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky. I've heard it applied to both, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I
Hmm.
love the idea that failure is not the outcome. Failure is like, I didn't do anything. I wanted that and I didn't do anything to get there. So
Hmm.
I don't know what happened.
Exactly. We there's no shortage of judgment and chaos in the world. So, it's a blessing for us to be a little bit more kind to ourselves for just giving effort, right? And it's not a means to say that, we should get complacent and things like that. But as you said, we're all figuring it out at the same time.
Yeah, I talked about this months ago. I was listening to it, well, probably a year ago. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about the differences between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And obviously it's not a new concept, but when I heard it articulated in the way they did, it finally resonated. And I realized that growing up, I'd been given a lot of talent-based praise, which meant
Mhm.
that I had something of a fixed mindset because I knew the things I could get praised for. And so I didn't go out of those boundaries. Versus, as you just said a few times, like effort and getting that effort-based praise as you're growing up around, knowing that it doesn't matter what it is. I know that in the past, if I put the effort in, I do the work, I get that outcome, good or bad. And that was, I mean, again, I'm 52 and I'm just, I'm starting to see the world in a new way because of these insights.
I think that's so beautiful. When you speak about talent-based praise, just think about it from the perspective of, that's visible. Those are the things
Mhm.
that you can see, versus effort rarely is that seen. Like, everyone will see that this show was streamed live today. It's tangible. You can feel it. You can click on it, but no one sees the thousands of hours and iterations you went through to put the show together, to come up with the name, to come up with how you're going to approach people and message them. No one sees that. So,
No.
it really is an internal process. Life is a constant inside game. A lot of times we see the outside, but it's that inside game. When you pursue that mastery from the inside, I mean, life presents, there's an allness to it. It's a beauty, it's a struggle, but the allness of it is wonderful to embrace.
I love that. You mentioned that in the green room, the allness of it. There's something so powerful at that. And I love the idea of the inside game because we are so prone to be looking externally for validation, externally for meaning. And that inside game is what gives you that growth and that learning, but also the fortitude to deal with those external things that are coming at you that you can't control.
Absolutely. There will be no shortage of them. And if it's one thing that we can guarantee is that, things will definitively be hard, but we learn to handle hard better. And that's the inside game. How can I handle hard better? How can I learn to love what I am struggling toward? It really is. That is, to me, that is the allness of life.
I'm looking off the side here, so I'm jotting down all these quotes. How can I handle the hardness? How can I, there's so many good things in here. So when I go back through it, I create my clips. It's just going to be like, ooh, mic drop moment. And I said it in I think some of the promotion I did for this, that like Tyler is known for the mic drop. Just that insight, and not just the insight, but the ability to articulate it in a way that is just like, ooh, it just hits and I get it. There's quotes around it as it comes out. I love it. So I want to thank, there's some other people that have chimed in here. Danielle, thank you so much for joining and chiming in. Kamara, I think it's Sep. I can't tell. I'm just seeing LinkedIn user, but great conversation. And he's saying some serious Marcus Aurelius stuff going on here. So I think that's true, that stoic outlook on the world and what we're doing. So thank you everyone for chiming in and your thoughts. And so we've talked a lot about sort of the inside game and the technology and the transformation in healthcare. I'm curious, what does Tyler Jackson do for fun? What do you do to kind of recharge? Do you step away from the technology and just get out, or what's your thing?
Yeah, I love that question, because sometimes the things I say that are fun, people are like, that feels a little bit like work, but to me it feels like play. I do step away from the technology. Coincidentally, these are the type of conversations that recharge me. I love just understanding where people are departing from and where they're aiming to go, because there's something beautiful about that story. That, again, wisdom is the echo of experience. And I love getting to be a part of people's experience and transformations, because it teaches me so much about myself and what's coming in the world. I have my zone of genius and other people has theirs. So being able to do that here virtually, being able to do that at a coffee shop, you can 90% of the time find me at a coffee shop somewhere. Or if I'm not doing that, I'm in the gym. And I love to train. Part of that training, it's a separation between mind and body, and then it comes together, right? There's those moments in the gym where it's, man, this is difficult. This is going to be hard. I don't want to do it. And then you give yourself permission to do it. And you go through that. And then you're like, I just learned something about myself. It's a little bit harder. And the rest of this day will be just a little bit easier, and that leads to the coffee, that leads to the conversations, that leads to being able to show up for others in multiple ways. So yeah, I love just connecting with others, any physical activity. And you can find me reading books too. Definitely love to read. Not as much as I used to, but I love learning from those who have shared their years and years of experience.
That's wonderful. I couldn't agree more. I mean, those moments of physical exertion, those moments when you're like, oh, just don't want to do this. But then the moment the kind of the energy strikes and you get those endorphins going and you're kind of in the zone. And it truly is. I find that whether it's working out or running or whatever your thing is, that physical exertion truly is this sort of metaphor for life, that it's about those. And every day, like you can do a routine multiple times a week. And like some weeks or some days you're feeling it. And other days you're like, oh, not today, but you just keep moving forward. And it's that inner game. It's that every day is a little challenge and I learn something new.
Yes.
Fabulous. Well, we're a little bit over time, and I feel like we could talk for another hour at least, and get so many insights and wisdom. But I'd love to. This is sort of the question. I haven't asked this question in a while, but I ended many of my podcasts with this question. But if there's one thing that you would like to be known for when you depart this world, what would that be?
I'll keep it simple. I want to inspire others to pursue their permissionless purpose. Everyone deserves, I truly believe everyone deserves to wake up with the privilege of something they would want to die for. And so in my head, the more I can serve as a model for that and inspire others. I don't care if it's I heard Danielle join. I don't care if it's making blueberry jam. I don't care if it's learning to master a recipe or a type of writing style. Do it, and do it to the best of your ability, because we need everyone that's here on this earth.
I love it. What a way to end. Thank you so much, my friend, for being here and sharing your I'm going to say infinite wisdom, because I feel like there's just this well of insight that you have. And I think me for sure, and I think many of the people listening have benefited from this. So I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us and doing the work that you do and just being the kind of person you are. I think that this podcast is all about celebrating individuals that are doing powerful things and having a positive impact. And here you are as the poster child for all of those things. And so thank you for keeping it real.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you mostly for creating the space for others to be able to share what life is for them and what they hope it to be. And, thank you for being the purpose distributor. Without you, without your platform, so much of these things get lost. So you bring so much hope and energy to the world. So thank you for being the light that all of us need.
Oh, man, thank you. That just hits me right here. I appreciate it so much. So thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Likewise. And I steal this from a friend of mine, but this is just bye for now.
I love it. Well, bye for now, my friend. We will see you soon.
Take care. See you soon.
All right. Cheers. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that you were able to meet Tyler and learn about what he's up to and his perspective on the world. He is an individual that I am so happy and proud and honored to have in my circle, because he just makes you think and makes you evaluate the world in a beautiful way. And so, Tyler, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you'd like to see this again, or you want to share this with someone, it's available on LinkedIn and YouTube, as well as the audio version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And please give us a follow on our LinkedIn page, as well as our YouTube. Thank you so much. And so join me for our next Impact Tribe podcast, which is going to be Thursday, July 3rd, with my special guest, Yohara. I should have checked this before. Yohara, I can't pronounce the last name. I'm really struggling with this. So Yohara Johari. Yohara, we can talk. You can slap me around virtually for that. But Yohara is a storyteller, an HR disruptor, and a founder of La Cienega Advisory, a firm reimagining employee offboarding and mental health in the workplace. She's a first-gen Mexican-American with deep roots in Nogales and a decade in HR. She's now turning lived experience into tools for healing, dignity, and change. And so until next time, everyone, thanks for creating a positive impact in your world. Together, we can make change happen. So thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous rest of the week and a great weekend. Cheers.